Hi, welcome to Ladies of Another View, the My Hometown edition, coming to you from Stanley, North Dakota. I'm Patty, and I'm joined today with Mary Johnson. She is a member of the Montreal County Historical Society, and I wanted to start with her so we could learn a little bit about Stanley. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on. Tell us, how did Stanley come to be here to begin with at all?
Well, to begin with, there was a fellow named George W. Wilson who came to this area in 1900 and started this place. He homesteaded in 1904. He was married in Minot in 1988, and they moved over here. And actually, his daughter, Florence Wilson, later Bemis, claims to be the first white baby born in Minot.
Wow, interesting.
And George was a telegraph operator at Fort Buford to begin with. He built the first homestead shack here with railroad ties. He built a house later and moved his family here. He started the first newspaper, the Stanley Sun. He later sold it. And he built the Wilson Hotel. He was influential in everything that was going on here. The early settlement here in Stanley was in 1901. And some of the tradespeople that were here were there was a real estate man and a banker. There was a merchant who was the postmaster. There was a barber. There was a doctor and a druggist, the same person, a lumber company, a merchant, and the hotel. There was a hotel.
Wow.
Lawyers, and there was a tailor shop.
So everything you need to start a town, right?
I guess.
Had all the right people. Were people coming out here to homestead?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so, as well as homesteading, then you had these merchants coming out. So I guess before you know it, you have a town, right?
Right. The first man on the Platte was on February 21st of 1902.
Okay.
Then there was a fellow, J.E. Stallnecker. That's a name that stayed with the town for a long time. He taught the first term of school in 1902.
Was it a one-room schoolhouse, I assume?
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah, what else?
And then in 1902, the Gray family started a feed and seed business, and the Gray family is still here.
Okay.
And in 1921, they began making butter, and later ice cream and creamery and bought cream and all that stuff.
And so do you have, like you mentioned, one family, Stallnecker, did you say? Or, so are there some families that live in Stanley now that are descended from those early settlers?
Mm-hmm. There's well, I imagine, the name anyway.
Right.
I don't really know the lineage of all of those, but the Grays, of course, and then the different families.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, like to come up with a list of names. You could probably go through the phone book and you'd recognize a lot of those names. So you have something called the Flickertail Village here that I think it's closed this time of year, but I've seen it from the outside, and it's this quaint, just beautiful little village.
It's
what's that about?
Outdoor museum. It's open in the summertime from Memorial Day through Labor Day. It's all volunteer people that do it, and they have buildings that are old from the county, things that have been moved in there. They have a depot and a part of a railroad and a barber shop and a bank and all kinds of buildings. It's something that people can really come and see. It's open in the summer.
Where do they get the buildings from? Were they from this area, or do they sometimes recreate the buildings?
Well, they keep them up. There's a church that came from, I think, Blaisdell, and there's an old tar paper shack family that came with the Wright family, and there's a Solberg family home there, and I think part of the bank came from some of the Banker Nelson stuff. he had a bank in Palermo and later moved it over to Stanley.
So when you say there was a tar paper shack, that's how some of the first
where
homes
they
were?
lived. That was their homestead shack.
Did you have sod homes? Were people building sod homes out here?
Oh, I imagine. I don't think there's any
Okay.
sod homes out there, but
Right, but I'm just wondering if like some of the early settlers, because I know
Oh,
it was
yeah.
common in North Dakota.
Oh, yes.
And the tar paper shacks, I guess they needed shelter, but I can't think of a cold North Dakota winter it
Yeah.
offering much warmth.
this George Wilson built his first home with ties from the railroad ties.
Okay, and so how is it, do you know much about the railroad coming out here?
There's a lot of history, and there's pictures and things, and there's that was a great part of how Stanley got going. And
Yeah, I guess that's the key, start building near the railroad and they will come.
and every 7 miles or so there was another town because the steam engines needed to fill on water to keep their trains going.
And it gave people jobs.
Yes.
Right.
The Stanley was named after Mr. Stanley, who was a telegraph operator for the Great Northern Railroad.
Oh, okay.
And at one time, Mountrail County and probably Burke and a lot of counties were part of Ward County, and it was broken out and made into Mountrail County. In 1910, Stanley was made the county seat for Mountrail County. It was the largest number of votes. There were 5 towns that were fighting for the title. There was
Okay.
White Earth, Ross, Stanley, Palermo, and Plaza. But Stanley won it out.
And it was by vote?
It
that
was
they
by
won?
vote.
Okay, well, that seems fair. Very democratic. I know sometimes you get into some pretty down and dirty fighting about it.
Oh,
So
there might have
obviously-
been some of that.
Yeah.
I used to hear stories, but I don't know them.
Yeah, but the story they're going with, it was a vote, so they
Yeah.
won. So,
And then to begin with, the water was hauled from the Missouri River
okay.
up here. And in 1902, a fellow named A.D. Pierce dug the first well for the city. And there were a lot of firsts. The courthouse out here is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's a majestic example of the French Renaissance period structure. Right now, the website, Stanley website, shows that there were 245 different, right now, 245 different business names listed.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It
So they were
was-
off to a good strong start from
Right
the
now,
beginning.
yeah.
Okay, so right now. So, well, Mary, thank you for giving us the inside story of the roots of Stanley, North Dakota. Stay with us, and we'll be right back after this with Ladies of Another View on Back.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Stanley Ace Hardware, North Dakota Guarantee and Title Company, Optometry Clinic PC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jill Clemene. I'm a family medicine physician and also work in the breast specialty clinic. We typically see patients with any concerns with their breasts, lumps, bumps, rashes, pain, anything. I really care about women here in North Dakota and feel so strongly about these women really taking the best care of themselves, and part of that is getting breast cancer screening on a yearly basis. If you're a healthcare provider, help save a life and make a Women's Way connection. Many women are eligible, and you can help connect them to Women's Way.
Flag flies, Courgette wants the home run ball to JT Stokes. Looking deep, he's got Harvey. Courgette wants his second touchdown pass, give it to him. Look at end zone, did he come down with it?
Now Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. Travel the country with Trent on the loose, and we'll find those interesting human interest stories behind the people that bring us the efficient food supply. Trent on the loose.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Norman M. Mell and Associates PC, United Quality Cooperative, Cashwise Foods of Stanley.
My name is Dr. Jill Stanley, and I'm a gynecologist. As a gynecologist, I see women for their preventative health care visits, and an important part of that is doing routine breast cancer and cervical cancer screening. It's important for women to have regular breast and cervical cancer screening to identify cancers early when they're most curable, and ensure that you're around for many years to enjoy your family and your loved ones and be there for them.
We are rewriting Hollywood's script for our kids. I'm pop culture expert Tina Griffin, and as a former Hollywood actress, I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look at how today's entertainment is eroding the foundational development of America's youth, and how to safely navigate this pop culture chaos. Knowledge is power. Parents want solutions. It's time to get the power back in your hands and reclaim the right to decide who and what should influence your kids.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
See the Brandy Larson Agency in Stanley for your insurance needs. My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Gooseneck Implement of Stanley, Napa Auto and Truck Parts, Pinnacle Travel Plaza of Stanley.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I'm back, and we are coming to you from Stanley, North Dakota. And I should mention we are at the Civil Center. We're going to talk about that later on in the show, but it's just a beautiful, gorgeous center, and you're going to want to hear more about it later. But right now, I am here with Jenny Gaskelin. Gasjolin, right?
Yes, perfect.
Sorry. A lot of letters in that name. And she is the coordinator with the farmers market here, and you're also a branch manager for the BNC Bank. And like a lot of small towns, one person does 5 and 6 different jobs, and that's what makes the community work. And you're one of those people. So tell me about the farmers market.
The farmers market, we started at the current market in 2016, and it's everything homegrown and handmade. We have lots of good vendors with produce and baked goods, jewelry, anything that they made. It runs June through September, every Thursday, 5 to 7 in the city park.
5 to 7 in the evening, so people can get off work, come on down. And I think people love farmers markets, right? Fresh fruit, vegetables. Do people bring things in?
Yes, to sell.
And it's pretty much open, right?
Yep. You just have to show up basically, and we charge $5 for food vendors, $10 for non-food vendors, and it really promotes, offering our community healthy food options and shopping locally. And
it creates kind of a festival environment, doesn't it? Especially in the summertime.
Yes.
People like to get out. I bet you see a lot of people
Yeah, it's so cool to watch. And we have, every week we have a different, the second week of the month is Kids Market, so we get kids out there and we promote their entrepreneurship, customer service, money handling, and then, their family comes to support it. And then the third Thursdays is live music and food trucks. So then it's fun to see all of the community just out socializing, enjoying the good weather. And then the fourth Thursday of the month is Church in the Park. So we team up with the churches, and they'll bring in food, live music, and just some good fellowship also with the market.
What fun. I think every community should have something like this because, just to get together in the summer with your friends and meet new people. What is the Harvest Festival? Is that part of the farmers market?
The Harvest Festival is part of the farmers market, and it's just kind of to celebrate our harvest season. All of those things are ripe and ready for picking. So we it's on the third Saturday of the month of September, and we have games and inflatables. We had pumpkin painting last year, hay rides, live music. About 30 vendors, everything again, all handmade, locally grown products.
I bet you get people from all over because I'm from Bismarck and that sounds like a lot of fun. I think it'd be worth the drive. Yeah, what fun. And then I also wanted to talk to you about the Stanley Area Community Foundation because you're a member of the board on that too.
Correct.
And Stanley, to work together and create things like this, you have to, everybody has to depend on each other and a lot of teamwork. So what is the foundation about?
The Stanley Area Community Foundation is part of the North Dakota Area Community Foundation, and I think we're about the largest fund in the state right now. So Stanley, they've been so generous. The residents, not just here in Stanley, but those that have moved away, the fund's now over $2.3 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so last year, 2021, we gave out almost $70,000 in grants to local Stanley organizations like Flickertail Village and the Aquatic Center, the pool, about everybody in town over the years.
Now, I love what you just said. There's people that used to live here and they don't anymore, yet they contribute to the fund. That says a lot.
Yes, it does. It's amazing and it's very generous and something that, we can all be really proud of.
It says a lot about the town of Stanley, too, that people feel they want to stay connected, even though they don't live here anymore, and they want to keep contributing and be a part of it and probably come back and visit sometimes, too, I bet.
Yes, for the 4th of July.
Okay.
It comes back for the 4th of July.
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's hear about the 4th of July. What do you have going on?
The 4th of July is the best time to be in Stanley. There's all the class reunions going on. There's a parade, a car show, music in the park. Everything's going on in Stanley on the 4th of July.
I know a lot of people will go a long distance to go to a car show. So what's entailed in that?
The car show, it's open to, I believe, motorcycles and cars. There's no year limit on it. So everybody just gets their car all shined up and bring it down to the park, and then it's judged. And along with judging, there's People's Choice, and so it's a great way, that people can show off their cars.
I don't know, I'm not in that world, but I would assume there's people that do kind of a circuit where they have these car shows and go long distances, probably even from out of state, right?
Yeah, I think we get a few from Montana. There's a car club in Minot, so they're really good about coming over, and Powers Lake and Tioga and the surrounding areas. And yeah, it's fun.
And even if you're not a collector yourself, it is fun to see these beautiful old cars all nice and shined up. Way bigger than what we drive nowadays usually.
Yes.
But just fun to see. Do they go into the parade or are they separate?
They can also enter the parade. So some of them do, some of them don't. Just depends.
All right. And in the parade then, how many typical floats do you have? And do you have groups that get together then probably and create floats? And
that's a really good question. I usually am in the parade and I'm not coordinating it, but there's a lot of tractors, horses, your cars, and then you have, the floats from the businesses. So there's quite a few.
And do you have fireworks then later in the night?
Yes, absolutely, fireworks.
And where do people go to see that?
They go out by the Knife River.
And if you just wanted to have some good old-fashioned 4th of July fun, you could come to Stanley, North Dakota, right?
Yes.
And slip right in, become part of the festivities, and because you don't have to be around here, right?
Yes. Yep. It's the quintessential small town, Independence Day celebration.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate you being on the show today, and we'll be right back with Ladies of Another View on Back.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Stanley Commercial Club, Reynolds Realty, Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative.
My name is Dr. Azure Bearstail. I'm an enrolled member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. I believe that it's really important for women to stay up to date on their cervical cancer screenings because it is one cancer that if we catch early, it is treatable and can be potentially treated with a surgery and without any chemo or radiation. Cervical cancer rates are actually on the decline, and that's with women staying up to date on their healthcare screenings.
Flag flies, Coyette wants the home run ball to JT Stokes. Looking deep, he's got Harvey! Coyette wants his second touchdown pass, give it to him. Look at end zone, did he come down with it?
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you. This is an opportunity to hear the other side, the progressive side. I think people lose sight of the fact that there's still work that happens after the session's over. Describe it to people if you like. There was an attack on NDSU, in my personal opinion. I'll use that word, you don't have to. Down the road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Thrivent Financial, Nodak Insurance of Stanley, Dakota Drug Company,
For women who give their all for others every day, it's easy for self-care to get lost in the shuffle. Regular breast cancer screenings save lives. Take care of your loved ones by taking care of your health. Talk to your healthcare provider about a breast cancer screening today.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
See the Brandy Larson Agency in Stanley for your insurance needs.
I'm Rick Becker.
And I'm Lori Hinz. If you agree with 80% of those in your party, the 20% are okay.
We support election integrity. We support term limits.
Join us Wednesday and Sunday at 8 p.m. for your after-hours oasis of sanity. What's happening in District 15? The district chairman needs to stand by and support the 3 endorsed candidates, period.
You can catch us here on Beck News, or you can go online and find us at beck.news.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Preble Medical Services, City of Stanley Visitors Promotion Fund, Farmers Union Insurance Brandy Larson Agency.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, coming to you from Stanley, North Dakota for My Hometown. And I am joined with Roger Jelstad, who is a retired business owner and also the president of the Lions Club. So thus the attire. We're going to get into the Lions Club and a lot of other things. Like I have a whole list of things that we're going to talk about. But I want to find out a little bit about your background. You've lived here for 48 years, right? And what's the business that you own a business and it grew while you were here in Stanley?
Yes, we had a business called Stanley Equipment, farm equipment dealership. And now it's called Border Plains Equipment, and it expanded to multiple stores.
All right, so Stanley was a good place to operate out of, right?
Stanley's a great place to operate in. The community has been great supporters of the local businesses, so it has been just wonderful being in business in this community.
And that makes you a good president of the Lions Club, right? Because you get things done. Tell me a little bit about what the Lions Club does in Stanley.
Well, the Lions Club gets involved. The motto of the Lions Club is "We serve." And you can take that as far as nationally, where we donate money to the Blind Foundation and the Sight for Kids Foundation and other things like that. But also, we serve locally. We raise a lot of money for various 501c3 nonprofit organizations in this community, and we donate that locally. And we have fundraisers also in the park in the summertime, Burgers in the Park, June, July, and August. And it's just a great organization to belong to. It's giving back to your community is what it really comes down to.
What I'm hearing a lot about Stanley is giving back. And you met, is it Ray Rude, the inventor of the Duraflex diving board, is from Stanley, North Dakota. And that diving board kind of revolutionized diving, right? It's used in all the Olympics now. And he's from Stanley. And tell me what you know about the diving board and Ray Rude.
Well, Mr. Rude grew up in a small town east of here, Blaisdell actually. But when he became, in the early 30s, as times became very tough, as they were all across the state, his father suggested he leave home. He was mid-teens, physically able to get his own job. So he left and caught a train, went out to the West Coast, got a job with Lockheed Aircraft. While he was working for Lockheed Aircraft, he learned the tooling and milling profession, and he had some neighbors out there that wanted a diving board for their swimming pool. So he took scraps of aluminum from Lockheed that they were going to discard, and he would craft together various things, and he made a diving board which the neighbors really loved. And all of a sudden, all the neighbor kids were going over to that pool to do their diving because their spring off the board was much greater. So one thing led to another. High schools soon found out about it. They wanted him to make some boards for them, which he did, and then it led to the colleges. Well, then he got very, very busy, so he quit his job at Lockheed and started a company called Duraflex International. Once the colleges were using all these boards, then the Olympics were next. Once the NCAA had it, and realizing what the United States had for their diving, the Olympic Committee only endorsed his board, the Duraflex diving board. So he sold diving boards all across the world. His crew would install them wherever the Olympics were, and it has done very well. His plant is in Nevada. It's on the east side of Reno, and I've been through the plant. But he, now his business basically does a lot of refurbishing some of the boards. The boards are still in use, and they renew the grips and stuff like that on the boards. But his board has been totally very endurable, you know, throughout the lifetime of the pools. So.
And then he gave back to Stanley, though. That's what's amazing.
Well, that's an interesting fact,
yeah.
And it taught a lot of people a good lesson about giving locally in your community. But Ray Rude came back, and towards the end of his life, and lived another 5 or 6 years once he became back here. And he saw some things that were needed and needed help in his community. And he built an aquatic center after his wife. It's called the Ina May Rude Aquatic Center, and it's a heated pool, 90 degrees, which works out very well because people that have arthritic conditions and whatnot. But the hospital always also uses it for physical therapy and things like that. And it's a great facility. It's open every day, and it's well used by the community. And we're very blessed to have that in our community. And Ray also did other things. He helped their hospital with some donations and doctor recruitment fund he put together. And he donated to the school an annuity that gives every 5th grader a new laptop computer.
Oh, wow.
And the high school kids that all graduate here get a scholarship also from the Rude Foundation.
They do? Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It is.
So, yeah, for he to have been that successful and then to give back to Stanley, North Dakota. Now, I know in visiting with you ahead of time, you mentioned so many good things about Stanley, like the 6 churches, golf clubs.
A lot of activities around here for people to do. You're right. We have a great golf club. And what's nice about this is that we have a progressive community that we realize that things have to be upgraded on time to time. But we just built a brand new clubhouse, Prairie Rose Golf Club, 9-hole grass green course, and we love that. It's been around for a long time, and it's an easy course for kids to learn how to golf on too, and challenging enough for the adults too.
You also mentioned there's some plans underway for a couple of big projects that I think people are going to be excited about.
Well, another thing, that's right, our park board is a very progressive park board, and we'll be groundbreaking this spring for a new water park next to our old pool. And also the planning stage is right now on a new rec center. So.
Wow, a new rec center and a water park. So yeah. Stay tuned for that. That's coming. Are they going to start breaking ground this summer?
On the water park, they are.
Okay, that's very exciting. That really adds a lot to a community in it. And already, though, you've got a lot going on. And I know they have a new track that was just built around the school, right? So it's nice that the school is a good place to send kids. Yeah.
Community came together on to raise funds for was what previously had a 6-lane track. Now we have an 8-lane track that goes around the football field, and brand new bleachers and concession stand.
Everything you need. For good family living. Thank you, Roger, for joining us today. And we're going to be right back with Ladies of Another View from Beck, coming to you from Stanley, North Dakota.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Stanley Ace Hardware, North Dakota Guarantee and Title Company, Optometry Clinic PC.
My name is Jolene Keplin, and I work for Tribal Health Education. Our health education staff encourages our Native American women to get screened right away for breast and cervical cancer. There's a lot of our women in our community that take care of their grandchildren, and I tell them, if you're not there, who's going to take care of your grandchildren? Early detection is the best protection for our Native American women.
Parents, listen up. Here's what your kids are being taught in public school, that there's no difference at all between boys and girls, that every white person is racist, and so is math. Supporting Black Lives Matter and social justice is more important than reading and writing, and thanks to Joe Biden, teachers unions just got tens of billions of dollars in COVID cash to push all this in front of your kids.
That's right, and we want to make sure you not only stay informed, but have the tools to fight back. So watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
We are rewriting Hollywood script for our kids. I'm pop culture expert Tina Griffin, and as a former Hollywood actress, I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look at how today's entertainment is eroding the foundational development of America's youth, and how to safely navigate this pop culture chaos. Knowledge is power. Parents want solutions. It's time to get the power back in your hands and reclaim the right to decide who and what should influence your kids.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV. My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Norman M. Mell and Associates PC, United Quality Cooperative, Cashwise Foods of Stanley.
Hi, I'm Kirsty Hintz. I'm an RN at Bismarck Burley Public Health, and I'm a local coordinator for the Women's Way program of North Dakota. Women's Way is a program that offers breast and cervical cancer screenings to eligible women in North Dakota. I love that I get to help women every day and really make it easy for them to get these screenings that really could save their lives. Getting screened is a great way for you to take care of yourself and be there for your family and those you love.
We're the Ladies of Another View.
You think about the kind of person who is stupid enough to think that they can raise a tiger.
Bringing you our take on local issues.
No, because I believe that if you stick true to your calling, to your mission, to your core values as to what you're called to do, then the funding will come.
With views you won't see anywhere else.
I was called up by the White House asking if I would speak to the president.
Catch us weekdays at 4:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
I'm Rick Becker.
And I'm Lori Hinz.
Join us at our new time on Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. for your After Hours Oasis of Sanity.
You can catch us here on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you. This is an opportunity to hear the other side, the progressive side. I think people lose sight of the fact that there's still work that happens after the session's over. Describe it to people if you would. There was an attack on NDSU, in my personal opinion. I'll use that word, you don't have to. Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Gooseneck Implement of Stanley, Napa Auto and Truck Parts, Pinnacle Travel Plaza of Stanley.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are once again coming to you from Stanley, North Dakota, from my hometown. And I'm joined now with Arnold Adicott, who is a sculptor and has been for 30 years. And when you come to Stanley, in a couple different places, like you go to Veterans Park, and you'll see this beautiful sculpture that you made called War Mules. But before we get into some of your work, how does one get into sculpting? Play-Doh as a kid, or what?
I've told this story before, but basically I did construction for 25 years, and I had a winter that was slow, and I've always liked sculpture, and I just bought clay and started sculpting.
So you just like the movement and feel of clay, and you started turning it into things?
Yeah, I'm self-taught, and
wow.
I grew up on a ranch, so the Western art and wildlife were kind of something that I was more interested in than anything else. Although I've done a lot of busts of different people for corporations and things like that.
As our viewers look at some of your work, to hear that you are self-taught is amazing.
Yeah.
How does somebody go from, I think I've got a little time on my hand, I'll get some clay, to creating the works of art that you've created?
Well, it's like everything else. You have to have a passion for something.
I imagine a little bit of research, like...
Yeah, not just a bucket of clay and start sculpting.
Well, what material do you use? It's obviously not just any old clay.
You can use wax or clay, or you can even carve something out of wood and go from there, but I usually use clay, art clay.
Was this a hobby, or did it become your full-time venture?
It was a part-time thing for 4 or 5 years, and then it went to full-time for the next 25 years, I guess. But it's something that, and I was fortunate enough to, a lot of community support in the area, and state, as far as that goes. So I was fortunate enough to have that, so I could keep going and just dedicate most of my time to art. So that helped.
And it has such a North Dakota flavor to your artwork. So I obviously that's where a lot of your inspiration came from, right?
Homegrown.
Yeah. You must like history.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of your art pieces. Outside the Cowboy Hall of Fame Museum in North Dakota, which is in Medora, right?
Right.
You have 2 beautiful pieces. One is called 100X. What does the title mean?
See, everybody asks me that because, especially if you're not acquainted with cowboys and Western, 100X is if you look at the sculpture when you're there, there's a felt hat laying at the front of the string of longhorns. And that felt hat is 100X was the highest grade of felt hat you could buy. So that's how the name came about for the piece. The piece actually supposed to represent when they herded cattle up here from Texas. That's kind of how it all got started. So they wanted something that represented the longhorns, because that's what we started with, longhorns. So
that is a huge piece too. How long would something like that?
I believe that piece is probably, I'm saying, around 30 feet long.
That's a pretty big piece. How long would something like that take you?
Oh gosh, a long time. I think I spent just sculpting that piece that took me about 2 years.
2 years, wow.
And then you go into the casting process, and that takes another probably year and a half to get it all cast out. So, long time.
The other piece you have there is called Bullseye.
Yep.
At the Cowboy Hall of Fame. And so what's that about?
That's Native American and buffalo, and it's basically about the hunt. The bullseye is, if you look at the piece, the buffalo's got an arrow in his side. So that's what that bullseye name comes from, is he's got a bullseye on that buffalo. You made a bust of Supreme Court Justice Ralph Ericstead. It's now outside the Supreme Court in the Capitol. And when we were talking earlier, you were, I don't know if it was sentimental, but you really loved that piece, right? Oh, yeah. Well, it was a fun piece to do because the people I did it for were fun to be with, and they told me what they wanted. So it was kind of an honor to do that piece. Yeah. And he was instrumental in getting the Supreme Court in the Capitol building, right? Ralph Ericstead was instrumental in getting the Supreme Court in the Capitol building. Okay, and so that's why the bust, yeah. And you even have a piece in the George Bush Library in Texas. Yeah, that's a piece called the Arena of Discovery. I did that piece for the Lewis and Clark bicentennial, and Senator Dorgan was in office at that time, and George Bush was president. But how that came about was George Bush, they purchased a piece, a company purchased a piece for his library, and they put that in the library. And that was kind of interesting too. They put a couple more in Washington. I don't know where they're at, but I'm guessing people come and find you, like for the piece, for the Bush Library, because you're not out there advertising, right? It's network. Network, yeah. They see your work. Yeah. And then they commission you to do it. How much artistic freedom do you have? Do they say, we would like you to make this for us, or do they ask you just to create something? Well, the Lewis and Clark piece was, that's called the Arena of Discovery. I did that on my own. I started it before the celebration because I knew that would probably be a popular piece during the celebration. And so that was all my interpretation. It had nothing to do with anybody else's feed. But a lot of the Cowboys Hall pieces, they told me the direction they wanted to go with it, like the Longhorns in Texas and the Bison and the Buffalo, or the Bison and the Native American piece. They told me kind of how they wanted to do that. So basically it was pretty much, I did a small sculpture of both pieces so they could have an idea where I was going with it, and then we went from there. In the one in Stanley, when you come into town at the Veterans Park, is that the one that's called War Mules? Yep. Tell me the story about War Mules. Well, that's kind of interesting because my dad was in World War II in Burma and India, and he was in the cavalry. And I always used to listen to my dad tell stories about war mules. And they were actually based in India, and then they went back and forth in through Burma. We were actually helping China to keep the Japanese out during that time because they wanted to take over China. But that piece there, I basically did that on my own. There was nobody to tell me who, how, what, when, and where. But I did it on my own, and we had enough people around here that looked at the piece and they wanted to put it in the Bismarck. So that's how that worked. Perfect spot. I mean, come on, you're from Stanley. You need to have some of your artwork here in town. We did it to honor all the vets. Yeah. Well, it's just gorgeous. It's just a piece that's really not part of history anymore. People have forgotten that we had a cavalry, and they were used in World War II. They used horses and mules. Well, thanks to you, we'll learn a lot more. People will know about it now. So thank you, Arnold, for joining us today. And stay with us. We have more to come, coming from Stanley, North Dakota, with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Stanley Commercial Club, Reynolds Realty, Montreal Williams Electric Cooperative.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
See the Brandy Larson Agency in Stanley for your insurance needs. Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
We're the ladies of Another View, bringing you our take on local issues.
With views you won't see anywhere else.
Catch us weekdays at 4:30 on Beck News. And online at beck.news.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Billings, host of The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we take great joy every day in entering into your lives at key moments to make differences for the better. That's how we fulfill the meaning of life. You can see me on Beck TV and beck.news. Cheers.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Thrivent Financial, Nodak Insurance of Stanley, Dakota Drug Company.
My name is Dr. Jill Stanley, and I'm a gynecologist. As a gynecologist, I see women for their preventative health care visits, and an important part of that is doing routine breast cancer and cervical cancer screening. It's important for women to have regular breast and cervical cancer screening to identify cancers early when they're most curable and ensure that you're around for many years to enjoy your family and your loved ones and be there for them.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I'm a sixth-generation farmer, husband, patriot, father. And as much as I'd love to just sit here under this shade tree and celebrate my own place on my front porch, truth of the matter is that people don't know who, where, and how is producing their food. So travel the country with Trent on the loose, and we'll find those interesting human interest stories behind the people that bring us the efficient food supply. Trent on the loose.
Parents, listen up. Here's what your kids are being taught in public school, that there's no difference at all between boys and girls, that every white person is racist, and so is math. Supporting Black Lives Matter and social justice is more important than reading and writing, and thanks to Joe Biden, teachers' unions just got tens of billions of dollars in COVID cash to push all this in front of your kids.
That's right, and we want to make sure you not only stay informed, but have the tools to fight back. So watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
My Hometown in Stanley is brought to you in part by Preble Medical Services, City of Stanley Visitors Promotion Fund, Farmers Union Insurance Brandy Larson Agency.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I'm Beck, coming to you from Stanley, beautiful Stanley, North Dakota. And I'm here with Linda Lumley, who is very integral in the very place that we are sitting right now, the Civil Center. She's a board member on this board of directors with the Civil Center and also the events coordinator. This is an absolute gorgeous facility, and it was once an abandoned church, right?
Yes, the church closed, and actually this building was ready to meet the wrecking ball. And there were people in the community and a lot of former North Dakotans that got the news, and people banded together, a total group of volunteers, and they managed to save the building. And not just save the building, but to make it into what it is today. And it was totally volunteer group.
And tell me, what is it today?
Today, it's the Civil Center for Arts and Culture. We are mostly about music, But we also support all of the performing arts and the visual arts. And we hold events here April through October. And we have had groups come from all over the United States, Canada, and we even had a man and woman from Italy here, a flutist and a pianist. And this beautiful $50,000 grand piano that is sitting behind us was donated by two people to the Sibyl Center, and the duo from Italy said this is the second favorite venue in the world that they'd ever performed in, due to the fact that the acoustics in here are just magnificent.
That is remarkable.
It doesn't get better.
That's remarkable. So since you book concerts, how would somebody find out what concerts you have coming up?
Well, we have a new Facebook page, and that's going to be just improving all along. We have a huge mailing that we do every year because we have supporters all over the United States, former Stanley people that still support things happening in Stanley and the Sibyl Center. And we do a really good job of promotion for our artists that do come here and perform. We're on TV, we're in all the newspapers, we're on the radio. We do a good job of promoting.
You have a beautiful reception area downstairs too, so I imagine you have like concerts and then receptions afterwards?
We do. We always have refreshments downstairs, and we have had dinner theater here. We have children's theater here, and at the end of the week, the children's parents, whoever would like to attend, comes for the performance that the kids do afterwards. The building has been used in the past, still can be, for weddings. There's been funerals here. We have a ladies' event once a year, and that is so well attended. The ladies just, girls just like to have fun, and we have fun. And it started out being a ladies' tea, because we have a very large assortment of teacups that have been donated from local people.
Okay.
And so we just have a wide variety of events here.
And your website is thesibylcenter.org, correct?
Right.
All right. And I also wanted to include, because this place is so beautiful, definitely go to the website and learn more. But you live right next to the Lostwood National Wildlife Refuge, and that's a pretty remarkable place too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, when I look out my kitchen window, I'm looking up into the Lostwood National Wildlife Refuge, and Lower Lostwood Lake I can see from my window. And right now the deer are starting to move out of the refuge. The snow is deep, and they are coming down south, and the fields are full of deers, and they are passing through the yards. And the National Lostwood Refuge is very well known across the United States. There's people come from other states for hunting. They have birding. In fact, I think people come from around the world for birding up there. And yeah, so I get to watch all the geese, all the things that come through, fly over my yard.
When we were on the phone, you told me there were 200 deer in your yard.
Has been.
I imagine that was amazing to see, but I don't know how many people want that many deer in their yard.
Well, they do eat the needles off the evergreens.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so they can do some good anyways.
Yeah.
And one more thing I really wanted to bring out about Stanley is that the Boy Scouts have a facility called the Pine.
Yes.
That's gorgeous,
yes,
and open to the community to also use, which is a beautiful thing, because a lot of times you're looking for meeting places, and lo and behold, you work at coordinating events at the Pine too, right?
I do. I help my friend out who is the manager out there, and that is a beautiful, magnificent building, and it has an industrial kitchen, and it has it's very light and open windows, and there's an outdoor patio. You can grill out there. There have been weddings, funerals, all those same things have happened out there. And the kitchen is magnificent, and we have a caterer in town who caters food out there if people like to have that also. And it's beautiful. And it's just getting nicer and better all the time. They're just working continually on the yard, and so it's a wonderful place for Stanley.
I love how much it brings to the community, because, the Boy Scouts, they're doing their thing, which is a good thing. but then they open it up for the community. And so often, like you said, weddings, funerals, gathering places, is that you're looking for a place, and it just really adds to the whole community.
Yep. And there are a lot of meetings and things like that, training sessions and that goes on out there too. Yep. The Sybil Center as well as the Pines, it's worth the drive. We have people come from all over North Dakota and beyond for our concerts here. And it's worth the drive to come to see either one of these facilities because they're both just gorgeous and people are welcoming. And I have met so many wonderful people here that they just keep coming back year after
And
year.
the sculptors, and it's on the train line, and the concerts and the events. And we are going to get, before I go back, I'm going to go get a Whirl-A-Whip at Dakota Drug because it's the only working Whirl-A-Whip machine in the world, I think. They keep all the old parts so they can keep it going. So we're going to go check that out before we go home. Thank you, Linda, for joining us today.
Thank you for coming to Stanley.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Meet some great people and learn a lot. So, and thank you for joining us today with coming to you from Stanley with Ladies of Another View on Beck.